Good morning, all of you. I'm Navneet Kaur, and today I'm going to discuss the topic web servers and web browsers. Let us have the introduction. A web server is a software application which is used for retrieving, presenting, and traversing information on the World Wide Web. Retrieving means to collect information, presenting means to show some information, and traversing means to visit some information. And World Wide Web is what? It is a collection of documents in the form of web pages which are organized as websites. So whenever we want to open a web page or we want to visit a website, we use a web browser. And every resource on the web, World Wide Web, it is identified by Uniform Resource Identifier, which is called URI. Whether it is a web page, image, video, or any other content, we have to identify it by using URI. Different examples of web browsers are Internet Explorer, Firefox, Netscape, Mozilla, Opera, Google Chrome, and Apple Safari. What is the architecture of a web browser? Most of the web browsers are used to display web pages and they use same architecture. They basically have three components: controller, client program, and interpreter. This controller component will get the input from keyboard or mouse, and client program, it is used for processing. In the diagram, we can see mouse and keyboard is used for input. Then we have a controller device which will use HTTP, HTTPS or FTP protocol. Now these protocols are used to request web pages. HTTP stands for Hypertext Transfer Protocol and HTTPS is Secure Hypertext Transfer Protocol. FTP is File Transfer Protocol. These protocols are used to access the web pages. Hypertext means text which is linked to some other text, and the text which is contained on web pages, that is called hypertext. So protocol which is used to access them, it is HTTP, and HTTPS protocol is used by banking websites. FTP protocol, that is file transfer protocol, it is used for uploading and downloading of files on the network. Now for display again, for displaying the web pages, either HTML format is used or XML format is used or PDF format is used. This HTML is hypertext markup language. It is the basic format of web pages. Then XML means advanced. It is advanced form of HTML. Then we have PDF. Next we have how we look at the architecture of a web browser, how it works. Now web browser is used to display a web page, and it also maintains a list of where the elements of the web page are displayed. The controller component of our web browser will obtain the coordinates of user's cursor from the operating system and will compare them with the coordinates of objects which are displayed. If we select a hyperlink, then controller will extract the scheme of URL, whether HTTP protocol is used or HTTPS is used or FTP is used. Then the browser will find the corresponding document, whether it's HTML or XML document, and finally it will display your document. Now the designer of a browser that may not be able to make up or sustain the development efforts, okay, to support all of the possible document formats that browser might be used to view. Now, in order to accommodate future requirements, there must be some new features that are incorporated in browsers. Some new functionalities need to be added. So that term is known as extending our browser. Introduction to web server. Now let us look at the web server. Now what is a web server? It is a specialized software which will respond to client requests by providing the requested resources. Whenever the user will enter a URL into web browser, that means when user is entering the address of requested web page, then this web server will return the requested document. Whenever we write address in the browser, that address is known as URL, and our browser will map that URL defined on the server, and it will return the requested web page to the client. And all this communication is done through HTTP protocol. Now, examples of web servers are Internet Information Services (IIS), Personal Web Server, Apache Web Server, and Tomcat Server. In the diagram, we can see that there are multiple client devices, computer, PDA, laptop, which are connected to the internet, and they are requesting for any web document from a web server. Here is a list of web servers: Apache, Microsoft, Google, Light, TPD, and this diagram shows how much percent of each of these is used over the internet. Now Apache is 69, Apache web server is being used by 69% of the websites. Microsoft IIS web server, it is used by almost 20% of the websites. And there are some other servers which have been shown which are very rarely used. So most importantly which are used, it is the Apache web server and Microsoft IIS web server. There are some other also, but they are very rarely used. What are the general characteristics of a web server? Now web server have two separate directories. First one is the root directory. Okay, like we have a site www.google.com. So document root is named as suppose ABC, and it's stored in the web directory. So but when we type the complete address complete address like www dot, for example, we are searching a document in tutorials point website, so we write www.tutorialspoint.com, then introduction to html. This is the topic we are searching. When we write complete path name of web page, it is called the URL. So we have different parts when we write the URL. One is the root, another is contemporary part. One is the server root, which is the root directory of all the code, and this server root is the main file. Other we have subdirectories or contemporary servers which provide uh, to serve the documents from the root document, which provide the path to serve the document from the root document. Then HTTP request. Basically, we're using the HTTP protocol for accessing web pages or documents over the internet. So there are some methods of HTTP protocol. One is get method, other is post method. So these two methods are used to send and receive data between client and server. This get method is used to retrieve appropriate content from web server, but it is limited to 1024 characters. And post request, that is used to update the contents of web server, that means sending, and it is no length limitation. Now this as I told, that post method is used to send the data. Okay, so you can also use cache memory for quick uploading, and also it can be used for get request also by storing the most accessed web pages in cache memory. Similarly, for post method also we can cache our responses which are frequently sent to the server. Now how we access the web server, how we request the documents. First of all, we must know the name of the machine on which web server is residing. Through local web servers also we can request data, or through remote web servers also. We can request through domain name or through IP address. Through local web server, if we are requesting the documents, then we have to write the name of the local host. If we are using remote web server, then we have to write the domain name or we have to write the IP address. Domain name is complete name www.google.com, and IP address, it is a numerical name in the form of four decimal parts which are separated by a dot, and hence it is called dotted decimal notation. One example of web server is Apache Web Server. Apache Web Server, it was found by Apache Foundation. It is the most currently used, most popular used web server. It is stable and efficient. It is portable, and it is the most reliable web server which is currently used. When we log into the Apache Web Server, this is the window which will be shown as soon as we start the Apache Web Server. Now the architecture which is followed for web server, it is a client server architecture. Whenever a client submit the request, submit a query to display a document, the server will locate the document, it will access the document and return it to the user. Now this architecture can be two tier or three tier. If it is two tier architecture, on the one side we are having user, on the other side we are having server. Server can be of two categories, application server and database server. And the user is requesting first application server, which is requesting database server, and finally the document is displayed to the user. Now, what are the problems with two-tier system? In this case, the power of clients, when it is grown considerably, when power of clients are grown considerably, then we have to shift processing to the client, but maintaining of data is very difficult. Another is our three-tier architecture. In this, we have client tier, middle tier, and information tier. Three types of tiers are there. Client is requesting first of all application server, and then we have database servers. So in between, these application server will act as an interface between client and information tier. So this is more suitable as compared to two-tier architecture. Client tier in this case is the top tier. Application tier is the user interface. Users will interact with the application tier, and which will to make requests and to retrieve data from information tier. This application tier will further contact the information tier to display the data to the user. Information tier is also called data tier or bottom tier. It will maintain the data for application in the database management system, and middle tier will implement business logic and presentation logic. It will control the interaction between application client and application data. It will act as an intermediate between data, information tier, and application clients. Middle tier has controller logic, which means it will process the request of the clients from top tier. It will read the data from database. It also has presentation logic, which means it will process the data from last, that is information tier, and present the content to users. It has business logic, that means it uses business rules that how clients can access application data and how applications will process data. So this is all about the basic concepts of a web browser and a web server and their architecture and how we access them. I hope it is clear to all of you. Thanks